Today I want to talk about timing. Timing is an interesting one because many of us come to do the inner work and maybe we want, a certain something to happen in our life, whether people come and they're wanting to do the work to attract a partner or to change their career or just their life in general. And there's definitely a process to doing the work, but there's also a timing. And timing is a tricky thing because it's something that we have to really, really trust. And we live in a very impatient society. So I want to talk about timing and how we can learn to trust it more. This is Corinne Bloom, and you're listening to Raw Conversations. So this is what I've learned about timing. And it's not always easy. Sometimes timing is really frustrating. But here's what I've learned. So I have wanted to make a very big change in my life for the last, I would say, 2 years. And I have found myself for the better part of the last 2 years waiting and waiting and waiting. I had a friend that was going through a similar thing, and we both kind of used the analogy that we were like in the green room, in the waiting room, like waiting to be called, ready to go on stage, so to speak, but just waiting in this green room for what felt like forever. And I know that in the last 2 years, there's been a lot that I've been processing inside because there's always room for growth, right? We're constantly evolving, not because we're broken and we need to be fixed and we need to be better, but just because there's so many layers to our being, and also because growth is interesting to the soul. I don't actually think that ever ends. And also there was, huge collective shifts over the last 4 years. So there's a lot to process in general. So I know that a lot was happening, and it's the saying, I don't know who said it, but that everything happens in the plateau. We're constantly waiting for the next stage, but actually so much is happening in the plateau. It seems like nothing is happening, but everything is happening below the surface. It's the example of the glacier, right? You just see the little tip, but actually most of it is under the water where you cannot see. So I think we're no different. And so sometimes we might be going through something and it just feels like it's taking forever. And for whatever reason, the timing for what I was wanting to do just wasn't happening in the last 2 years. And there were times where I would get really frustrated and really confused and lost, and at times in despair because I was so unhappy in the place that I was in, specifically where the area and country that I've been living in. And here's the thing. Before I get to the timing piece, there's the process. And whenever we're trying to do something because there's an element of resistance, there's an element of, I don't like this, I want to get out. There's nothing wrong with that per se, because it's showing us something. It's showing us that we need to, maybe we're feeling blocked and there's no more growth. And so we need to kind of shift gears a little bit. We need to move into a different direction. If we keep on running our head into the wall, maybe that's an invitation to step back and reassess and use our periphery vision. There's so many different reasons, right? But normally when we're trying to get out of a situation through resistance, it takes longer, or it just doesn't quite work. And again, it's a process. So I was very much in that state many times over, that I've been at war with this place and then found peace, and then had war and then found peace. But in the end, it was really about, because I live by a mountain and it's a very strong energy. And even just in these last 2 months, I was saying to a friend of mine, I was like, damn it, I just have to I've got to just love the mountain. I've just got to be really grateful for her. I've just got to ease my kind of, wave the white flag, so to speak. And actually, when I did that, that's when a lot of things began to change very, very quickly. So here's the timing piece. For whatever reason, in the last couple years, the timing just wasn't right. There was a few things where there was a little bit of a possibility, but it didn't quite feel right. It was complicated. It intuitively didn't feel right, even though I was so wanting to get out. The way that things were kind of falling on the table didn't quite fit. The pieces of the puzzle didn't quite fit. And then after a challenging year, where I kind of got to the point where I'd had enough, and I really feel like I had done all of the internal work that I could have done, then I had to shift gears and really kind of go, okay, now this is it. It's enough. This is what I want. My eye is on the bullseye, so to speak. And there was a kind of determination that really came in, but not coming from a place of resistance, coming from a place of what is it that I want to move towards, not what I'm trying to leave behind. And there was still a period of research and feeling out, but at least I was actively doing something, and it felt like there was a flow of energy for that. Then I was kind of planning to move to one place. And in the beginning, it seemed like there was a lot of energy going in that direction, and I was making connections, and there was even a possibility, an opportunity. And as quick as that opportunity came in, it also left. But I had this very strong, resounding voice, that I really felt was coming from my higher self that said, just trust. Just trust. And actually in that moment, I felt elated. I had this amazing optimism and positivity. It was really quite remarkable. And I would say over the next maybe week or two, that's when it wasn't a week or two. It's probably closer to a month. I went through the up and down of it, right? I was in the high of that positivity and that trust. And then I kind of came into doubt and I dipped down. And then I was working on just really being in communication with my higher self and asking it how to best guide me. Long story short, a lot of different things started to happen. And it was like all of a sudden things started to line up. But it wasn't just me. It was the important people in my life as well. Because part of the resistance, so to speak, was a lack of alignment that kind of allowed everything to fall into its right place. And I felt in a way I was being held here. But when you really trust the timing, it happens all of a sudden. And the best analogy that I can use for it is, when you're like on a Zoom call and you have a bad internet connection and the image freezes, or it starts to kind of stutter and it doesn't work so well, or it's a little bit slow, it gets stuck. And then it might stay there for a little bit of time. And then all of a sudden it will play really, really fast because it has to catch up to real time. That's exactly what I experience with timing. Is you might be in a place that feels like a holding position, that feels like you're in the green room for bloody ever. And it feels like time is moving by so slow, or it's moving by, but nothing is happening. Nothing is happening, or very little is happening. And you get really frustrated. And I know a lot of the people that are single that come to me, they'll say, God, I'm waiting forever and ever and ever. And I'm doing all of this work. And where is he or where is she? And it feels like it's never going to happen. So in my situation, it really felt like it's never going to happen. And I really had to confront well, God, what if I stay here for the rest of my life and this is it? It just feels like a slow death to me. And so there was a letting go of the resistance. There was a coming to a kind of peace with what was. I had to accept what was. You can't get anywhere if you don't accept where you are in that moment. You have to start with 2 feet on the ground before you can take a step. I know I've shared this in the past. So there's so much of the internal and the relationship to the external kind of fight that we have to let go of. Whenever we're trying to do something, it normally doesn't work. That's why people that are trying so hard to meet someone, they're trying to date, they're trying to go to parties, they're trying to, do everything they can, and it's coming from this state of tension. and even a state of desperation or neediness, and it just doesn't work in that way. That's what I've found, is it just doesn't work. Unfortunately, no matter how hard you try, we're actually creating the obstacle. And that reminds me of Rumi's quote again, which is, "It isn't your job to seek love, but to seek all the barriers that are keeping you from receiving that love." And I think that is true to anything in life. It doesn't have to just be about love. It's more about not what it is that we're seeking, but what are the obstacles that we're actually placing in our own way. What resistance are we creating? What tension are we creating where we're trying to control our lives when they're not controllable? All we have control of is our state of being, how we show up, and the choices that we make. But we can't make things happen in the way that we believe we can make things happen. We make things happen when we let go, when we relax, when we fall into flow, when we trust, when we stop trying so damn hard. That's actually when things happen really quite well and with speed. And so you might feel like you're waiting forever and forever and forever. And that's how I felt. It felt like such a long waiting game. But when it happens, it's like a quantum leap. There's that fast forward. It's like you've been on freeze frame, and then all of a sudden the frame has to go blah, 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 boom, and then it comes up to real time. And then it almost happens so fast that you're like, whoa, this is quite overwhelming, or this is really surreal, because all of a sudden the thing that you've been waiting maybe years for happens. It all happens. And it happens like that. But the beautiful thing is when you trust the timing, the thing that you're wanting to experience and to call into your life, it happens with a greater sense of harmony. Because like I said, if there's anybody else involved, and normally our lives do have an effect on other people in some shape or form, some more than others, depending on the way that your life is built and structured. But when it happens and the timing is right, it works for everyone in that dynamic. It works for all parties. And that's what's really beautiful. And, of course, hindsight is 20/20 vision. When you're in the midst of it and you're miserable or you're lonely and you're longing for something and you're wanting it so badly, it can be really painful and really hard and really despairing at times and frustrating. And you ask yourself, is anything ever going to change? Is it going to happen? Am I ever going to get what I want? And it can feel like no. It can feel like it's not ever going to happen. And this is why I say, especially when I'm working with singles, it's like a radical trust in your life, that life is working for you. And if it seems like you're being held back, it might be for many reasons. It might be because there's still work you need to do on the inside. It might be that not everyone in the scenario of what you're wanting to call in is ready. And that's another thing. We have to be ready, especially in relationship. But also, in my situation, which has to do with living and, exploring other places to live, it might just not have been the right time 2 years ago, 1 year ago, for numerous reasons. We can have the desire and we can have the want, but we need to have everything it's not about having your ducks in a row, but it's about having everything come into as great a sense of balance as is possible. So that then when it happens, we've really completed this cycle before. It's come to a completion. There's an evolution, there's a growth, there's a learning. And when you can come to a place of gratitude for what you've just experienced, the good, the bad, and the ugly, then you're really ready to go into the new next cycle whole, embodied, with a fresh perspective, ready. Just ready to then fully be present to go into what you're going into next, which is going to be an unknown. So in my situation, it's really an unknown because I don't have much planned. I'm going to be living out of a suitcase, and it's going to be a period of discovery and exploration. But I think I said this a couple podcasts ago as well. Even if it's a relationship, you're still stepping into an unknown. Because you don't know that person. You're getting to know that person. You don't know how the relationship is going to unfold. So life in general is always an unknown, but we try to predict, we try to control, we try to assume. But it really is a very liberating place to come to when you just trust the unknown. And trusting the timing means that there's almost like an order to things. It's a weird word. I don't know why that came through, but it's like there's a divine order of things, not like a man-made rigidity to order, but that there's just, what if we were just to radically trust? Trust the timing, trust the process, trust the development, trust the plateau, trust the unknown, trust the despair, trust the healing. Literally every single part of this process. What if we could just allow and trust it? And the timing of it is something that we are not in control of. We just are not in control of it. Doesn't matter if you want to call in a partner, or to get married, or to have a child, or to have a career advancement, or to move house, or move country, or any little thing. If you're trying to force the timing, most likely you're going to get in the way. And if you don't get in the way, it's going to be much more stressful. So what do you do if you're in the place where you're really yearning for something and it's not happening and it feels like it's dragging on forever? The best advice that I can offer is, it's not about being apathetic, but it's allowing the isness of where you are right now, and you find and create the joy that you can create within it. You enjoy yourself, because waiting for someone or something can be really painful, can create a lot of suffering, because it's like, well, I won't be happy until I get there. But we need to be happy now. We need to be fulfilled now. We need to be at peace now, because this is our life in this moment. This now moment is the only thing we have, right? So part of it is learning. Part of the process is, can you get to the place where you enjoy and appreciate the now? Knowing what you would like to call in, getting really excited about that. Feeling the gratitude of what it will feel like when you are there, but not at the expense of throwing away your present day life. At feeling like your present moment is miserable because you're not quite where you want to be yet. Artists that haven't produced the album, writers that haven't finished the book. There's always the, when I get there. But guess what? When you get there, there'll be some other there that you need to get to that will have more happiness. Right? So that's the illusion. And we need to just come back to the now. Can you enjoy here? And if here is hard, and if here is depressing, and if here is confusing and frustrating and lonely, then go in. Go inside of yourself and learn what it's like to nurture yourself through the hard times. To take care of yourself, to accompany yourself so that you're not lonely, so that you're not going through it alone, but you're actually there with yourself. And that is the first and most important partnership that you'll ever be in. But as you're going through the hard time, even if it's just a little whisper at the back of your mind that just says, just trust. Just trust the process. Trust the unfolding. And trust the timing. It will come in the perfect moment when it is right for everything to fall into place, like the pieces of the puzzle that then will just fluidly fall in. And all of a sudden you'll see the image. And I tell you, it will then happen in a quantum leap. And then you'll even, how time is weird, how you get to the end of the year and you go, God, that year went by really fast. But in the midst of it, there were moments where like, God, this is taking so long, right? So time is an illusion. So much of existence happens beyond time and space. But here we are in the construct of time. But it's an illusion because it can speed up and slow down all the time. And the way that we relate to it in our past and our future also changes the perception and the experience of time. If you have children, you really, really, really get to see that in a very real way. I remember when I first had my daughter, when she was a baby, someone said, and this just stuck with me, and it's so true, the days are long, but the years go fast. And it's so true. I remember how slow those days were in the beginning, where I just would be aching for it to be bedtime to put her to bed so I could just have a moment to myself. And now here I am almost 10 years later, and I'm like, wow, where did the time go? So enjoy the moment, enjoy the now moment, because it will pass whether you enjoy it or not. It will pass. And then you hit these markers and you're like, whoa, where did the time go? But the great thing is you still have time. Again, it's an illusion. Don't worry about it. And if you're waiting and you're afraid and the clock is ticking and you feel like you're getting older and you're wasting life and it's not happening, don't worry, because when it comes in, you'll forget about the waiting. It will be as if it never happened or it went like that. It won't feel like the long haul flight that you're currently on right now. When you arrive, and it's not about the arrival, it's not about the destination, but we do have these points in life where we they're markers. They're markers. And then they're a great moment to look back and reflect, be grateful for what's come in, and there'll be another future point that you're looking towards. So just trust it, because when it comes in, it might very well come in very, very fast. And it might actually overwhelm you, or it will just fall into place perfectly and you'll forget the pain and the suffering that led you to that point. But hopefully not enough where you forget the wisdom of what you gained. And there's always wisdom to gain. There's always an opportunity. There's always something to learn and to evolve through. There just is. It's a choice. Do we want to throw it away, or do we want to take it and use it for our betterment, for our own wisdom, to learn how to love ourselves more, accept ourselves more, to really discover what brings us joy? What do we want to experience in life? All of it is like a refining the recipe, is what I like to call it. We're refining the recipe as we go along. And there is no perfect, and there is no destination. So trust the timing. Trust that it's all going to work out. Trust that everything that is coming your way is for you. Even if it's hard, there is something in it for you. Trust it. Go with it. Ask your higher self for support. Ask your unseen guides for support. Ask your friends and your family for support. You don't have to do it alone. But the inner journey, you and only you can fully go into it. Other people like me can guide you, but it's up to you. So if there's one message, it's just don't get too hung up on timing. It will do its thing. You have zero control over it, and it will slow down and speed up accordingly. And it will bring you to the perfect moment in time where you need to be. The right time, right place, right? We've all heard that one. And just trust it. Let go of trying, let go of working so hard. Know that where you are is okay. If it's not exactly where you want to be and it makes you sad, be with the sadness. But find joy in your experience. Find joy in yourself, because you deserve to be happy. You deserve to be content and fulfilled and at peace just by being. Nothing you have to do. Just by being. That's enough. Enjoy you. Right now, in this moment, take a deep breath in. Let it out. And just enjoy yourself. What a gift to be you in this lifetime. Enjoy that gift. As always, take it or leave it as feels right for you, and loving you from afar. You've been listening to Raw Conversations with Corinne Bloom. Thanks so much for showing up, listening in, and being a part of the conversation with me.